Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, the gods of Olympus have gone to war, and you'll be unleashing heroes and monsters to conquer the battlefield and turn your foes to serve you by controlling shifting allegiances to rule Olympus. Sellswords Olympus is a tile placement game for 2 players. It takes 15 minutes to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Level 99 Games. Today, I'll be doing a rule school where I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. So let's get started. Sellswords Olympus is a 2-player game where you're going to be drafting gods and monsters. These will make up a hand that you'll be using these cards for your color, red or blue. You'll be placing them out into the board, creating the board as you play, using abilities, and battling any adjacent enemies. Some of those abilities happen at the end of the round. Some of them are ongoing. Some of them are mandatory and happen right when you place them, so there's lots of strategies in the abilities. You're trying to have the most of your color tiles in rows and columns at the end of each of 2 rounds because scoring happens then. The more tiles you have, the more points you'll get. After round 1, you'll be drafting new monsters and gods, and doing this again until you finally finish with a 5x5 grid, scoring all the rows and columns again. Whoever has the most points in the end is the winner. To set up, you're going to split up the different tiles in the game. First, you have the hero tiles. These have a hero's name. It'll be blue on one side and red on the other. There's also 4 gray terrain tiles. For now, take the 4 gray terrain tiles and place them off to the side. Then, shuffle the hero tiles. It does not matter which side is up, red or blue, just shuffle them together and put them off to the side for a draw deck. You're then going to decide who's going to play red, who's going to play blue, and randomly one of you will become the first player. From that stack of hero tiles, you're going to put 7 of them face up in the middle of the table. It does not matter which color is up on any of the cards. I've sort of randomly put them out there just to show you it does not matter. Now players are going to draft heroes back and forth. So the first player is going to pick first. They're going to take any one of these 7 tiles and they're going to place it in front of them, placing it on their color. For example, if red's first, they could pick any of these tiles. Even if it's blue face up, it does not matter. So if the first player took Apollo, they would take this, and since they're the red player, they'd place it in front of them with the red side up. And then it's the blue player's turn. They'll draft one of these tiles and place it in front of them with the blue side up. This will continue until each player has drafted 3 tiles, meaning there'll be 1 left over. You'll discard this pile next to the hero draw pile off to the side. Now you'll repeat that process 1 more time. You'll put 7 tiles from the draw deck of the hero tiles in the middle of the table. Does not matter what colors are up. And now the player who went second in the first set of drafts will be the player that picks first in this second set of drafts. And just like before, this will go until there's 1 tile left over. This gets discarded, meaning there's going to be 2 cards in the discard pile. So at this point, both players will have 6 hero tiles in front of them. They'll be on the color side face up that they are. In this case, this is the red player. Next, get the gray terrain tiles you set aside earlier. Find the one that says Mount Olympus in the upper left and place it in the middle of the table. The other 3 you can place back in the box. You don't need them. In future games, you can randomly assign the gray terrain tile. And lastly, you can place the point chits off to the side. They're double-sided, 1 for the red player, 1 for the blue player. The object of the game is to have the most points in the end. We're going to show you how you get points by having a certain amount of tiles in rows and columns a little bit later. Now the game is played over 2 major rounds. There's going to be scoring at the end of each round. Now within each round, players are going to alternate turns. On your turn, you're going to do 3 things: play a tile, use abilities, and battle. To play a tile, you're going to take one of your tiles and place it, making sure that your colors face up. For example, if this is the red player playing, they'll place a tile adjacent to any tile that's out there. And in this game, adjacency is cardinal directions, up, down, left, right of a tile. I could not place this here because diagonal alone is not adjacent. So I can place it like this. Now eventually, a row or column will have 5 tiles in it. Right now, this column has 2 tiles. Both of these rows only have 1 tile. Once a column or row has 5 tiles, it can no longer be expanded, meaning you're going to have a 5x5 grid at the end of the game, and this gray terrain tile does not need to be in the center. And in fact, in most games, it probably won't be. Now, once you place a tile, you can use the ability on that tile. Now, there's different types of abilities. In the bottom right, it tells you what type. This tells you that it is a continuous ability. And this one says, tiles adjacent to this one cannot be flipped by any means. Now, notice that this tile, all of them, have strength. A lot of times, they're different amounts. Here, it's just 0 everywhere. Next, you'd battle, and you'd be battling every adjacent tile to the one you just placed from the opponent. At the beginning of the game, you won't battle like this because there's no opponents there. So let's go to the blue player's turn. On the blue player's turn, again, they have to place a tile adjacent to one. So it could be here, 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 or here. Again, never in just diagonals. So let's say he places Zeus here. Now, this is an end of round ability where it says you gain 1 point for each allied tile adjacent to the terrain tile. So if Zeus is here and it's blue at the end of the round, it's going to get them a point. If he's able to flip king minus the blue, it's going to get them another point. So he's setting up for some future strategy. A couple other notes on placement here. You can rotate the tile in any direction, and this is going to matter, as we'll show you in just a moment when I show you a battle example, that these numbers are going to be the strength of the tile that it is facing. So do I want a 7 and 4 and an 8 here with a 3 like this? Or maybe do I want something like this, or like this, or like this? It doesn't matter. In this case, I'm just going to leave it like that. And since there's no battle, it's going to go to the other player's turn. So it's red's turn again. Let's say they place this here. Again, they can rotate any way. This says that it is an optional ability. It says instead of battling, you may flip one enemy tile in play. Well, they would be battling anyway because there's no opponent next to them. So sure, they'll flip a tile, and now they're going to flip it to this, which is great because it just thwarted the ability of Zeus, and look what it just did. Now, if Zeus is red at the end, they'll gain 1 point for each allied tile. So they really just flipped the script on blue right there. And again, since there's no battle, we're going to go to the next player's turn. Now let's say the blue player plays this tile here. Now again, they can select which way it faces, but let's look at this ongoing ability. At the start of their turn, they can discard a tile from their hand and gain the top tile of the deck. Maybe they don't have a great hand, so they want to play this now so they can try to have some more strategy for the rest of the round. And let's say they spin it this way. So now we're going to talk about battling. You're going to look at every adjacent enemy to the tile that was just played. In this case, these two are enemies that were adjacent to it. And you're going to look at the strength. This is 3, this is 0. So this defeated this. You will flip it over to their side. Now when flipping, you flip it looking at the card in the normal direction, and you flip it horizontally, like this. The reason why is all the points will be the same. Now in this one, it was all 0, so you don't really see the difference. Now in this case, here, it's 5 to 5. If it's equal like that, or if they were lower, if this was like a 4 or less, nothing happens, these don't flip. Now, some of the tiles have a mandatory ability on it, like this one. It says, after this tile battles, you lose 1 point per enemy tile flipped. So let's say they placed it like this. They are now beating this 6 to 5. This flips. Now look, we look at it in this direction, like face up, and we flip it horizontally. So it's going to go just like this. And notice that it's 5, 5, 3, 2, 5, 5, 3, 2. You just want to make sure that the points are the same after you flip it. So you just flip it horizontal in the direction if you were to be looking at it face up like that. And now this was battle like this, and they would have lost a point because of that mandatory ability. Now also note that when tiles are flipped like this, no chain reactions ever happen. However, instead of placing errors where they just did, maybe they place it like this. Well, because adjacent tiles give points to their control at the end of the round, and this says after this tile battles, you lose a point. Well, they're not battling anyone right now. It has lots of strength, so it's losing that ability, but they are gaining strength, and they are going to get a point from this round and next round if it's still there, because it is quite strong. So this will continue until the end of round 1 once all players have played their hero tiles. Then what we're going to do is you're going to look at every row and every column. And depending on how many tiles you have that are your color, you'll get a certain amount of points, as shown in the table here in the upper left, and this is also in the rulebook for you. For example, let's go by rows. Both of them have 1 tile, and so that's 0 points. Red has 3 tiles in this row, so they're going to get 2 points. Red has 2 tiles here, they're going to get 1. Blue has 1 tile, so they're going to get 0 points. This row, blue's going to get 2 points because they have 3 tiles, and red is going to get 0 points because they only have 1 tile. You would do the same thing for each of the columns, but you also look at the terrain tile. Adjacent tiles give +1 points to their controller at the end of the round. So blue's going to get 2 points for having these 2, and red's going to get 2 points for having those 2. You're then going to go on to the second round. Now round 2, you're going to do the same setup as you did for round 1. You're going to put up 7 tiles, and starting with the first player, who in this case is going to be the one with less points. If you're both tied, then you randomly decide. You're going to draft tiles back and forth, just like before. There'll be 1 left over that goes in the discard pile. And just like in the original setup, you do it 1 more time so that each player has 6 tiles, and all those tiles are on the side of their color and in plain view of the opponent. You'll then play the second round just like you played the first round, remembering that once a row or column like this column here has 5 tiles, it can no longer grow anymore. Which also means no tiles can be placed below this row because this is now the fixed 5 sections here of the different rows that are going to be in the game. And just like if this tile was placed here, which then flipped this when it battled, now these are the 5 columns here, meaning that there's never going to be a card going on this side or this side, and we have made our 5x5 grid is going to be in here. Now, sometimes you'll be swapping tiles, and this one says you may swap this tile with any other tile in play. It's an optional ability. So let's say that we swap. Anytime you swap tiles, you keep the orientation the same. In this case, they're both face up like this normal, and we'll do that. Now again, after the ability, you're going to do the battle, and it's for the card that you had just placed. This was the card I had placed. So now we battle. This is now going to flip because it's 2 versus 0, and then this is going to flip as well, 2 versus 0, and they have a spot next to Mount Olympus, which is great. Another final point is that every tile has to touch another tile. So there's no abilities that would allow this tile to be moved or out of this spot because this is no longer touching any of the tiles, and so the ability that would have done that is ignored. And so that could have never happened. Now this will continue going back and forth until the 5x5 grid is complete. At that point, round 2 is over. You will score just like you did at the end of the first round, looking at every column and row and giving each player amount of points depending on the amount of tiles that they have. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. If it's tied, the player who went first in the second round is the winner. And finally, if you have any questions about the abilities, each of the tiles are numbered, like number 6, and you can look at it at the back of the rules where it will tell you things and some special exceptions that some of them might have. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Sellswords Olympus faster than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have any further questions about the rules, there's a link in the description of this video that's right below me, and that's the best place to ask them because I'll be notified, but so will Level 99 Games.